we have discussed about your uh, EDA, which is your exploratory data analysis, and today we will be discussing about predictive analytics using Python. Okay, so whenever we are going for predictive analysis, before that we have to go for that EDA. Okay, I will show you some of the steps those are involved in your predictive analysis. uh, so in that you will find before going for prediction we have to go for your EDA. Okay, so those who have not seen the or who have not attended the last lab class, please go through the video which has been posted in your beta. And before going into the thing, let me remind you one thing. Whenever we are going for any IoT system, whenever we are using any IoT system or IoT solution, you can say, in that case, I have already told you one of the most important thing of using or getting the benefit of that IoT system is uh, by collecting data. Okay, so we'll be collecting data throughout the day, throughout the you can say all the time, and those data are going to be used for different purpose. Okay, so most of the time I told you that so in most of the time just 5 to 10% of those data are used for controlling purpose. Controlling means controlling different devices or systems in for which we are using that IoT system, and rest of the data we are not using at all. Okay, so our objective is to means in this total subject the objective is to use that data for different purpose. Okay, so basically that can be used for two purpose. One is your optimization purpose. I have already told you this thing in your theory classes several times. One is your optimization purpose. Optimization means performance optimization of your product or your IoT solution. Okay, so we'll be collecting the data, we'll be analyzing the data, and we'll be seeing what are the faults or what are the problems we are facing in that IoT solution. And after that, we'll be taking some necessary steps to overcome those problems. Next thing, we can also use those data for prediction. Okay, so I have already told you this thing that prediction means we'll be predicting the future value of the product after 5 years, after 10 years, after some years. Okay, we'll be predicting the demand of the product. So these types of things can be done by analyzing the data. Okay, so predictive analytics is based upon this concept. Okay, so let me maximize this one. Yes, so you can see in this slide it is written that predictive analytics encompasses a variety of statistical techniques from data mining, predictive modeling, and machine learning that analyze current and historical facts to make prediction about future or otherwise unknown events. Okay, so basically what happens, what are the data we are collecting, they will give us some information about your present scenario and some past scenario or historical fact. So we will be analyzing our current and your historical facts to make some prediction about your future situation. Okay, so that may be your future event or any unknown event. So like I told you that what will be the price of our stock of our you can say of our shares after 5 years. So those types of things can be predicted by your predictive analysis or analytics. In business, predictive models exploit patterns found in historical transactional data to identify risk and opportunities. So this is very important. So you might have seen nowadays so many people are saying that this product will be in highly is going to be high demand after 1 year or 2 year. So those things are basically predicted based upon these types of analytics techniques. Okay, so whenever you are going, whenever you are going to launch some product or so whenever you are launching some IoT solution in the market, we have to identify the risk or opportunities which will be coming in near future. Okay, so according to that we have to take necessary steps. So those types of things can be found by exploiting some patterns found in your historical data. Okay, so whatever historical data you are collecting from that, you can identify different patterns, different trends which they are following. Means how the demand of the product is going, how people are liking your, suppose you have launched a mobile phone, so how people are liking the camera of your mobile phone, how people are liking your user interface of the mobile phone. So those things you can identify the trend, and according to that trend you can take some necessary steps. Okay, models capture relationship among many factors to allow assessment of risk or potential associated with a particular set of conditions, guiding decision making for candidate transitions. So basically uh, we'll be just trying to find out or identify your risk or potential, and those will be based upon some conditions. It's not like that we'll be just randomly picking the data and we'll be analyzing to find out the risk or your opportunities. There will be some conditions. Okay, so based upon that conditions we will be doing that these types of predictive analytics. So predictive analytics are used in these sectors like your marketing, business management, sports, insurance, telecommunication, retail, travel, mobility, healthcare, child protection, pharmaceuticals, capacity planning, social networking, etc., etc. So in all these things, uh, these types of predictive analytics are used. Okay, so in business this is highly used because to know the demand of the product, the share value after some years. So all these things uh, you can say they are predicted by different types of analytics techniques. Okay, and also in the insurance companies. Okay, so they use this thing for getting some idea about their insurance value or how much claims will be there after some years. So those things are there. Means all this uh, information about the future thing, they may be true, they may not be true, but the prediction about the future thing are done by these types of analytics technique. So now, what are the steps involved in your predictive analytics? First is you define the problem, okay, and second is just set up the problem, and third you can say EDA is there. So whatever thing we have studied there, those steps are here, okay, or you can say somehow this thing is also associated with your EDA, okay. And what happens? I have already told you. Just let me remind you what are the steps involved in your EDA. So first, you have to identify the attributes which are there in your data set. Also, we are talking about these things in your last class also. So what are the attributes we are having? So we will be identifying those things. After that, we will be cleaning the data set. Okay, after that we'll be finding out some of the basic relationship between your data set, and after that we'll be removing some of the unknown data, okay, which are not going to be used for your analysis or your computations. We'll be removing those things. We'll be doing some samplings or samplings, and some will be if possible we'll be aggregating those things, and those steps are there in your EDA and your setup the problem. Okay, and you can see here another step is there that is written as a transform. So basically this is basically used for you can say for converting or transforming the attributes. Okay, sometimes what happens, we need to convert the variables from one form to another form while we are going to implement the model. Okay, so for implementation into a specific model we need these types of transformations. Okay, because these are basically you can say transformation of different functions. Okay, so this step uh, depends upon your types of model which we are going to implement for our predictive analytics. Okay, and once this step has been completed, so after that we can go for your modeling. Means we will be using different types of analytics technique by which we can predict the values, or you can say predict our required thing, and after that assess and implement. Same step you can find in different manner. Means sometimes the conventions or the namings may be different. You can say define the, instead of define the problem, define project, data collection, data analysis. So all these things up to your statistics, you can see they will be coming under your EDA. Okay, so sometimes, so all these four steps can be taken care by your EDA steps. Okay, and after that you will be modeling. Okay, so basically modeling means we'll be using different types of mathematical technique or statistical technique which will guide us to find the or predict the values or predict the things. Okay, and next will be your deployment. Okay, same thing, whatever steps are written here, same thing has been written but in some different manner. Next, what are the analytics techniques used for this purpose? Okay, so first is your linear regression model. Next is your logistic regression model. I'll discuss one or two models, what are the basic difference and all those things. Next is your probability regression. Next is your multinomial regression. Another is your time series model. Next is your multivariate adaptive regression splines. Last is your machine learning techniques. Okay, so what happens? Let me discuss about two models. After that, you will get some idea. So what are the basic difference between your linear regression model and logistic regression model? Okay, so basically, whenever in your linear regression model, data is modeled using a straight line. Means we will be modeling using a straight line. So whenever we are going for a straight line, means we have to use the basic form or basic equation of the straight line, that is equal, that is your y is equals to mx plus c. So uh, we'll be modeling the system using a straight line. Okay, whereas in your logistic regression, the probability of some opted event is represented as a linear function of a combination of predictor variables. Okay, so here this thing is based upon some probabilities of some events. Okay, so in this case we will be combining linearly combining those things for predicting purpose. Okay, next is this is used whenever the variables are in continuous form. Okay, you will understand what is the meaning of those things later when we'll be discussing more about your logistic regression. Today we'll be discussing about basic linear regression. Okay, we'll be doing some basic programming, uh, how this can be used for our prediction. Okay. And your logistic regression can be used for your categorical variables. Means suppose so many categories are there. So last time I have shown you some example of some buildings. I think no, I have shown you some data set of some people that those can be split into different categories, because one column was there, race or ethnicity, in which category A, category B. So if we are taking those category as our independent variable, then in that case we can use your logistic regression for our clustering purpose. Okay, so in this case, in your linear regression, the output of the variable will be a value. Means we'll be getting some value like 0.5, 0.6, or 0.9, like that. Okay, we'll be getting some values. But in this case, we'll be getting the output as a probability of occurrence of an event. Okay, so whenever we are talking about probability of occurrence of an event, means that will be mostly in the binary form, 0 or 1 type. Okay, means true false type. Okay, so either it is going to happen or it is not going to happen. Next, accuracy of this linear regression means whenever we have modeled something, there must be some accuracy. We cannot predict everything with 100% accuracy. There will be some errors. So that accuracy are basically measured using your R square method or adjusted R square method. Okay. But in this case, accuracy or precision are measured using F1 score or ROC curve. So ROC stands for your region of convergence or confusion matrix. Okay, so these are some of the basic parameters. Those are used for finding out the accuracy or goodness of fit, you can say. Okay. So basically you should understand that linear regression is used whenever your variables are continuous, and logistic regressions are used whenever the variables are categorical. Okay. So these are the things, and you can see probability regression is there. This is another variant of your logistic regression, and another type of logistic regression is there, that is written as your multinomial logistic regression. So basically, I have told you in logistic regression, the output is a probabilistic type, or you can say that gives you probability of occurrence. Okay, so whenever probability of occurrence is simply written, that means you can understand that it should be a true false type, or you can say binary decision type. Okay, that is going to be 0 or 1 type. But in your multinomial logistic regression, what happens? The number of steps or number of states can be more than 2. It cannot be binary type. Okay, so instead of 0 1, there will be more number of steps like your, or more number of states like your 0 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1. If these are the number of states, means these are the number of finite states, those are present for in your output variable, then this is called as your multi-linear logistic regression. Okay, so instead of binary, there are multiple states are there. So, so these are the four types of analytics techniques. Those are usually studied or are used or studied in your basic academics course. So there are also some higher type or advanced techniques like your time series models, multivariate adaptive regression splines, and machine learning techniques. Those are used for practical purpose. Okay, practical purpose for practical prediction purpose. Okay, so what happens in this case, we'll be using some of the given data. Okay, which will be given to us. We'll be using that given data for our prediction purpose. But in this case, in your multivariate or multivariate adaptive spline and your machine learning technique, we are not going to have any training samples. Okay, so whenever we are not having some training samples, those are called as unsupervised. Unsupervised algorithms. Okay, so these are your unsupervised algorithms, whereas these are your supervised algorithms. Means there will be some data which will be given to us for as our reference. We will be using those data to model the thing. But in this case, the whole data will be given, but we cannot find out, or it will be not specified which are your training samples. So we'll be picking some random samples and we'll be starting the process, and after that automatically we'll be reaching at the end point. Okay. So in that case, so in these four cases, or these cases, these are called as a supervised learning, because these algorithms are guided or supervised by some training samples. You will just understand this thing whenever we'll be discussing about the this linear regression model. What is the meaning of supervised learning, or you can say training samples? I'll be showing you a very good example. So now, what is regression? Okay, so regression analysis is a form of predictive modeling technique which investigates the relation between a dependent and independent variable. So whenever we are going to represent something using a mathematical functions, whether it be two types of variables, one will be your independent variable and second will be dependent variable. So regression analysis is the predicting technique, or you can say prediction algorithm, in which these types of variables are there. Okay, we'll be finding out the relation between these types of two variables. Okay. So next teacher, what is linear regression? So I have already discussed that thing. So here I will just written a supervised algorithm. So this is important. You should understand that a supervised algorithm means there will be some data or some information will be given to us based upon which we will be drawing or will be finding out your linear model. One line we are going to draw, which will be based upon some given data. Okay, so that's why as some data is given to us as your reference, or you can say these are the correct data, we'll be assuming or we'll be taking them for our reference. So that's why this process is called as a supervised. Means whenever we'll be calculating or predicting something, that prediction is going to be compared with this reference data or which have been given to us. A supervised algorithm that learns from a set of training samples. So one training samples means these are the things which will be given to us, or means these will be used to train the model. Okay. Each training sample has one or more input values and a single output value. So the algorithm learns the line. Okay, so algorithm learns the line, plane or hyperplane that best fits the training sample. So how we are going to model the things? So we'll be trying to draw a line or find a line using those training samples. Means whatever points will be given to us, we'll be using those points to find a line. Okay, so here we'll be drawing the line if we are doing all these calculations in 2 dimension. If we are going for higher dimension, means 3 dimension, then we have to find out the equation of the plane or hyperplane. Okay. Means when the number of variables, or you can say when the number of dimensions increases, at that time we'll be finding out the plane. So use the learn line, a plane or hyperplane, to predict the output value of any input sample. So based upon that input line, based upon that regression line, we'll be trying to find out the or predict the future value or some output value of any input sample. Okay. So what are the major uses of this regression analysis? So determining the strength of your predicators, okay, forecasting an effect, trend forecasting. So those things I have already told you, where the regression, linear regression is usually used. So evaluating the trends and sale estimates. Next is analyzing the impact of price changes. Next is assessment of risk in financial services and insurance domain. And whenever we are going for regression analysis or linear regression, we have to see some of the factors, okay, like your classification and regression capabilities. Because in some cases, if you're finding that your variable is not continuous type, or sometimes if they are categorical type or something, in that case we cannot use the linear regression. Okay, it also depends upon the quality of the data. Sometimes it also depends upon your computational complexity. Okay, if your data set is highly complex, or so many variables are there, at that time we cannot draw, we cannot find out simple regression line for those types of data. So in that case we should not use these types of linear regression model, because this is a very fundamental or basic model in which we try to model using a straight line. Okay, so if your data set is complex, so many input variables are there, and uh, uh, we are trying to find out or fit all those points to a straight line, it will be very difficult. So at that time we should not use this model, we should go for some other model. Okay. And basically these are preferred whenever the problem is comprehensible and transparent. Okay, so this technique is very much straightforward. Okay. We can easily understand the thing, and we can directly implement the process. So whenever the problem or the data set is transparent, at that time we should use these types of linear regression model. So today we'll be discussing about a simple example, and I'll be showing you how to program that this linear regression algorithm. As I have already told you that in your linear regression model, we'll be trying to find out the equation of a straight line based upon some given training samples. Okay, so here you can see whenever we are going to draw a straight line, the basic equation is equals to y is equals to mx plus c. So y is equals to mx plus c means this is your independent variable. You can see in this axis it is written independent variable, and your y is your dependent variable. M is your slope of that line, and c is your y-intercept. So these are the parameters which we want to find out whenever we are trying to draw or find this linear regression line, or you can say line of regression. You can say this one. So as I have already told you, this is one supervised algorithm. So there will be some samples or some values which will be given to us. Okay. So here you can see some points have been located in blue color mark. This is 1 point, this is second point, third point, 4 point, 5 point. So like that, so many points will be given to us. Okay. And we have to find out the equation of a line which passes through all these points, or which fits through all these points. Okay, as you can see, these points are placed randomly. Here is one point, here is another point, here is another point. So there will be we cannot draw a straight line which will be passing or which will be fitting through all these points. Okay, because if you are trying to draw a line, you can see we cannot draw a straight line which can pass through this. Okay, so this is not possible. Okay, there is no straight line which can pass through all these points. So what happens here, the basic idea is to draw a straight line which will give us minimum distance error. Okay, so we will be finding out an equation of the line which will be passing, which may pass through some of these points or which may not pass through all these points, but it should give us minimum distance error. Okay, I will tell you what is the meaning of this minimum distance error, but before that let us understand the algorithm, how it works. Okay, so those things are written here, that these are your dependent variable, this is your independent variable, all these things. And here you can see, means we are going to discuss this example. From this example you will be clear how this algorithm works. Okay, so some values have been given to us, so these are your training samples. Okay, okay, so you can see x is equals to y, means sorry, x is equals to 1, y is equals to 3, x is equals to 2, y is equals to 4. These are the some of the points which have been given to us, means these are the collected data, or you can say these are the data which we can use as reference. Okay, and here we have located those data. So this is your 1 3, this is your 2 4, this is your 3 2, like that. Okay, so uh, 1 2 3 4 5, 5 points are there, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, blue color points are your training samples. So now we'll be trying to find out a line which will pass through all these points, means our objective is to draw the line which will pass through all the points. But as you can see, these points are placed randomly, so no lines can pass through all the points. Okay, so then how to draw a line? So we'll be following this algorithm by which we can get some idea, or we can draw a line which will give us minimum error. Okay, so first process is to find out the mean of these values. Okay, so mean means mean of x and mean of y. So what is the mean of x? You can just add all those points, 1 2 3 3 3 3 6 6 plus 4 10 10 plus 5 15 15 by 5 is equals to 3. Okay, similarly if you take the mean of this y, that will give you 3.6. Okay, so here you can see that point is located here. 3.6 is located in a red color mark. Okay, so this is the point which means this is the static point, uh, uh, using which we can draw our this regression line. Okay, so you can see that, means from this we can imagine that if I'm drawing a line through this mean point, then there is some chances that these types of errors or distance error may reduce. Okay, so I'll be trying to draw a line which will be passing through this mean point right now. Okay, because I can see no lines are going to pass through all these points, so I'll be taking this point as my starting point. Okay, so next, as we know that the equation of the straight line is y is equals to mx plus c, so I'll be using some formula to find out your m and your c, because these are the two things, or two variable, means you can say two quantities which I need to draw a straight line. So first quantity is your m, or slope of the line, and here you can see the expression. Okay, so I'll tell you how these expressions have been derived. So there are some mathematical formula behind it, how it has been derived. Okay, so let us first use this thing and understand the algorithm. After that we will discuss the mathematical basics. So m is equals to this one, means here you can say inside this summation x minus x mean is there. So usually x mean is denoted by this one, y mean is denoted by your this one, y bar. Okay, so x minus x bar is there, and into y minus y bar is there, and here x minus x bar square is there. Okay, so we have to calculate those things, and after calculating those things we can find out your am value. Okay, so first we are going to calculate x minus x bar. So x bar is equals to 3, already we have calculated. So x minus x bar means for this value, this will be 1 minus 3 is equals to minus 2, 2 minus 3 is equals to minus 1, 3 minus 3 is equals to 0. Like that you can calculate all these things, all these values. Okay, similarly y minus y bar, 3 minus 3.6 is equals to minus 0.6, then 4 minus 3.6 is equals to positive 0.4, 2 minus 3.6 is equals to minus 1.6. Like that we can calculate all these values. Next is your x minus x bar square. So if you're taking the square of these values, then minus 2 square becomes a 4, minus 1 square becomes a 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 square 1, 2 square 4. So now you can take the summation of this quantity directly, but uh, for the numerator you have to multiply these two factors, and after that you will be taking the summation. Okay, so that step is written here. The summation of x minus x bar square is equals to 10. Directly we can add all those quantities. Okay, because you can see summation signs are there. And next, first multiply these two quantities. If you're multiplying, then that becomes 1.2 minus 0.4 and all other quantities, and you just add those things. So after adding that thing, you will be getting the value as a 4. So here in this expression, we are going to use these two values. So after putting this 4 and 10, your slope becomes your 4 by 10 is equals to 0.4. Okay, so if your slope becomes a 0.4, then your equation y is equals to 0.4 times of x plus c. So this is your equation, and in this case we have already derived the value or found out the value of your m. Okay, only thing that is left is just c. Okay, and for finding out the c value, we can use that mean point, because I have assumed that I'll be using this mean point as my starting point. Means my regression line is going to pass through that mean point, so that's why I can use this point as one of my reference point or input point. Okay, so if I'm using this mean value, what is the value of a mean? So 3 comma 3.6. So 3 is here, x is equals to 3. So here if you are using this thing, 3.6 is equals to 0.4 into your 3 plus c, then c becomes your 3.6 minus, this is your 1.2. Okay, c becomes your 2.4. Okay, so c value I can find out equals to 2.4. So finally I can write down the equation like this. So y is equals to 0.4, sorry, 0.4 times of your x plus 2.4. Okay, so this is the final equation, or you can say equation of the regression line. Okay, so that thing has been done here. You can say after putting all those things, finally we have found these values. Okay, so we found this equation, y is equal to 0.4x plus 2.4. So once we have our regression line, then we can go for prediction. Okay, prediction means uh, 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 we can do something to means some other steps are there to find out how much accurate is our modeling. Okay, so for that we can use those training samples to find out the errors. Okay, because what happens, you can see these are the values which we are going to use as our reference. So here we'll be calculating the y value. Okay, so that is denoted by your y cap, means these are the predicted values for these samples. Okay, and based upon these predicted values we are going to calculate the errors. Okay, because whenever we have drawn, or whenever we have whatever line we have drawn here, so definitely there will be some errors. Okay, so we are going to find out or predict that error value. Okay, so for that you can see we'll be using that equation, y is equals to 0.4 times of x plus 2.4 as it is written here, and now we'll be using these x values. Okay, this x values which have been given in our training samples to find out your y cap values. Okay, so if I'm using x is equals to 1, then what is the y value I'm getting? That is equals to 2.8. If I'm using x is equals to 2, then your y cap value or predicted value is 3.2. For 3, this is 3.6. For 4, this is 4. For 5, this is 4.4. So these are the predicted value which I got using my regression line. Okay, now it's time to find out the error. Okay, because you can see this is my regression line. So whatever steps we have done, so you can see this is your regression line. Okay, and these are the points which we have calculated by taking the x value as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. But originally what happened? Originally the value was given like this. Originally this was your value, this is your value, this is your value. So there are some errors. Okay, you can see the error is the distance between your actual and predicted value. Okay, so this is the error. You can see this is the error. Okay, here is the error, and also here is no errors because the 2 points are same. Here is a small amount of error. So now we are going to find out the errors or accuracy of our model. Okay, so for that one parameter is there that is called as a R square parameter. I have already told you that thing, that R square parameter is used to find out the accuracy of our model. Okay, or how closely our data is fitted to our model, that can be predicted by this R square parameter. So that thing is written here. R square value is a statistical measure of how close the data are to be fitted regression line. Okay. It is also known as your coefficient of determination or coefficient of multiple determination. So how we are going to find out the R square value? One small formula is there. So this is the formula, and you can see here predicted value is written as your YP. Okay, so otherwise sometimes this is also written as your Y cap also. Okay, same thing. Okay, so in your numerator you can say YP minus Y mean is there. So Y dash is there, Y mean, and square is there, and Y minus Y mean is there. Y means this is the value of your training sample values. Okay, so after dividing these two factors you can get your R square value. Okay, so those calculations has been done here. So you can see and let me tell you one thing, here everything is a bar, mean values are there. Okay, please note down this thing. So first we have calculated your Y minus Y bar or Y mean, and after that we have taken the square of these things, and after that we have taken the sum of all those points, and here the value we are getting is 5.2. Next, predicted value minus your mean values, these are written here, minus 0.8, minus 0.4, 0.4, 0.8 are there, and after that we have taken the square, and after that we have taken the sum. Okay. So for R square we have to divide these two values. Okay, after dividing we are getting this value 1.6 by 5.2, which is equals to your 1.6 divided by 5.2 is equals to 0.307692 like that. Okay. So what happens here, whenever we are getting R square value as this much, that means this model is not so much good. Okay, so this is a poor model. Okay, so that thing is shown here, that whenever R square value is approximately 0.3, then you should understand that your training samples are far away from your predicted values. Okay, so training sample values are far away, means the distance is large. Okay, means large errors are there. Okay, so if by some means, okay, if I'm just increasing this R square value to 0.7, then what happens, your training samples will come close to your predicted values. Okay, means there will be less amount of error. If it reaches your 0.9, then all this training sample and your predicted values will be close. Okay, similarly if R square is equal to 1, then that will be your best fitted, means all these training sample points are going to lie on your regression line. Okay, I will also show you one example in which they will be lying on the straight lines or your regression lines. Okay, so that is the thing, that R square value should be close to your 1. Okay, so if it is close to 1, then only you can say your model is very good, or it is best fitted, or it is fitting very well with your training samples. So our objective is to make this r square value close to 1. Okay, so here what happened, we have obtained your r square value as your 0.3. So for that, to increase this value, there are some other techniques. What are those techniques? There are some techniques like your gradient search technique or points and line techniques, by which we can optimize to find out a good line or good line of regression. Okay, so what happens here, we have already evaluated our mean value. This is one technique we can say. So there are some other techniques by which we can search a best fitted line of regression. So we have already evaluated your m value, your slope value, which is equals to 0.4, and your y-intercept is equals to 2.4. Okay, so what happens for improving this r square value or to reduce this error? Okay, r square uh, for making this r square close to your 1. Okay, so what we can do, so we can choose different values of m. Okay, instead of taking as your 0.4, because 0.4 and c is equals to 2.4, they have been derived from your mean values. Okay, we have just find out the mean value of your training samples, and from that we have found out your m and c values, but those are not the final values. Okay, if we are getting, so instead of here, instead of getting 0.3, if you are getting 0.8, then we can choose means if you are getting your r square value as your 0.8, then we could have chosen this line as your final line. Okay, but as we are getting this as your 0.3, then we can do some, means we have to use some other techniques to improve this line, or we have to find out an optimized line. Okay, for that we can choose these m values within the range. Okay, we can choose that m value, let it vary from zero point 0.3 to 0.5. Okay, means we can choose different values of m. Different values of m means 0.3, 0.31, 0.32, 0.33, like your 0.41, 0.42, like your, it can vary up to 0.5. Okay, I have just shown you some of the finite points, but we can also take more number of points based upon some higher number of decimal points. Okay, so 0.31311, 0.30001, 3 decimal points, 4 decimal points. So you can choose any number of slope values. So based upon that slope values, you can find out your c values. Okay, and after finding out your corresponding c value, you can get one straight line, and you can check out your error value. So whenever you are getting your error value, r square value is coming close to your 1, at that time, means at that time you can choose the corresponding regression line as your final regression line. Okay, means which will give you less amount of error or least error, you can say. Okay, so one technique is you can choose this m within a range, or you can also choose the c values also. Okay, so you can fix the m value, and you can also choose the c value, like c can vary from 2 to 3. Okay, let us assume that c varies from 2 to 3, means 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, like that. It can go up to 3.01, 3.02. So it can go up to your 4. Okay, so we can choose different values of c also to find out the regression line. Okay, so any straight line equation which gives us uh, r square, which is close to your 1, we can choose that one as a final regression line. Okay, so for how to find out this m and c values, those techniques are also there in your gradient search. Means we'll be using some derivative based techniques, or we'll be directly picking up some points from this range, or there are some types of different types of optimization algorithms are there, by which we can choose suitable value of your m and c. Okay, and once we have your suitable value of your m and c, we can choose that corresponding line as your best fitted line, or you can say final regression line. Okay, so next what happens, once we have our final regression line, we can go for our prediction. Okay, prediction means, so at that time, here you can see only in your x or your independent variable, 5 points have been mentioned. And once we have our regression line, we can predict the value of any independent variable. Okay, so suppose we are asked to find out what will be the corresponding value of x is equals to 7. So once we have drawn this straight line, we can use the equation of that straight line and we can find out what will be the corresponding y value. What will be the value at 1000? Okay, so we can use x value as your 1000 and we can find out the corresponding y value. So that is the that is the type of prediction we are doing here. Means we are just trying to find out a best fitted straight line, and by using that equation of the straight line, we will be predicting the future value of some sample. So here is the future value. So here in your independent variable x is written. So if this x is replaced by your t means time, then we can find out your future value. Okay, so after 10 years, what will be the value? After 100 years, what will be the value? After 20 years, what will be the value? So those values can be found out from this regression line. Okay. So this is the concept of your uh, line of regression or linear regression technique. So next, how we are going to use this thing in our programming. Okay, so you can directly implement those formula, which whatever formula I have shown you in that in those steps of the example, you can directly implement that. But usually what happens, some other techniques are there, means same thing, but these have been represented in some different manner. Means if you're going through some textbooks or some books, then you will find, or mathematical books, you will find this technique. Okay, but both the things are exactly same. The only difference is that if you are going through this mathematical technique, then the size of your code will be reduced. Okay, means it will be easier for you to implement in Python or any programming language. So what happens? Your line of regression, you can represent that as your y is equals to ax plus b. So here slope is written as your m, slope is m is written as your a, and your y-intercept c has been written as your b. Okay. Please note down these are the changes has been done in this case, and y cap is your predicted value. Okay, so y pre or predicted whatever. That has been represented as your y cap. Okay, so I have already told you that whenever we are going for your linear regression, we will be trying to find out your error. Okay, so that error is mathematically written in this form. So yi, this is the training sample value, and this is the predicted value. Just subtract those things and take the square and take the sum. Okay, so this is your you can say this is your mean square error. Okay. So error is defined in this form. Okay, so summation of these quantities starting I from 1 to n. Okay, if there are n number of points are there. So in this case, as I have already told you that we'll be trying to minimize the error. So here you can see we are going to minimize the error with respect to different values of a, means different values of slope and different values of your y-intercept. Okay. So error expression we have already found out, and here we'll be finding out at which conditions they are going to be zero. Okay, because we are trying to minimize the error or make the error as a zero. So that's why we can take the derivative of that error with respect to a here. Okay, so if you're taking the derivative of error with respect to a is equals to 0, then and your error is equals to, let me write down, error is equals to summation of I is equals to 1 to n yi minus yi cap square. Okay. So this was the thing written here. Okay. If you are taking the derivative of this quantity, then what happens? Just keep this thing, this summation to one side. Okay. And if you are taking the derivative of this thing, then twice of this quantity will be here. And after that, if you are taking the derivative of this one, that becomes a 0, because these are your constant values. Okay. So derivative of these things will be 0. Only thing that will be left as your left here will be derivative of this thing, this yi cap by dA should be equals to 0, and minus sign you can neglect that, because on the right side 0 is there. And here, as you can see, here you can see what will be the value of your yi. So yi will be, if you're taking the derivative of this thing, then you have to use this expression. You can see here, if you're taking the derivative of this one, then what happens? Sorry, partial derivative dy by dA, that should be equals to, we are taking with respect to a, so x will be treated as a constant, so x will be there, and derivative of this thing will be your 0. Okay, so del of y cap by means del by del a of y cap will be equals to x. Okay, so that thing is written here, you can see, or xi you can say. Okay, and minus sign will come here if you are considering minus sign. Otherwise you can neglect this minus sign. I think that has been neglected in the next step, because you can take this minus sign to your right side. You can neglect that one. Okay, so this is the derivative of your yi that is written here. So once we have done, or once we have reached at this step, then we can open that thing. Okay, so uh, you can say 2 is there. Okay, so this is one constant, we can neglect this one, this we can multiply with your 0, so that can be neglected, and you can open that thing. So after opening, you can see in one side you will be having your yi into xi will be here, in the right side y predicted into xi will be here, and already we know that y predicted can be represented using this equation. Okay, this is the equation which is written here, so we'll be using that equation in this step. Okay, so yi cap can be written as your a of xi plus b into xi. Okay, so here we can just open this thing and keep it as it is. Okay, so this is your first condition, which will give us, or at which our error will be 0. Okay, so you can see here, so a is taken outside, and a of xi square is there. Okay, and next you can see here b into xi is here. Okay, so this is your first condition. Similarly, taking the derivative of that error with respect to b as 0, then similarly you will be getting same steps you have to follow. We'll be getting another condition here. Okay, so summation of yi by n is equals to something something plus b will be there. Okay, so from these equations, now we can find out what should be the error value of your a and b, means this is your slope and this is your y-intercept. Okay, m and c. Okay, because you can see here two equations are there. Okay, first equation is your this one. Here also two equations are there. Your a should not be there, I think. Okay, two equations are there based upon your a and b as your variable, and two unknowns are there. Okay, so two equations, two unknowns, you can solve them, and by doing some mathematical manipulations, we can find out the value of your a and your b. Okay, so this is the technique by which your a means slope and your that y-intercept has been found. Okay, so I have shown you that example, means while discussing that example, I directly told you that this is your slope formula. So that's how slope formula has been derived from this mathematical analysis. Okay, so once we have your slope and we have having your y-intercept, then our equation of your regression line is there. Okay, so next, similarly, by fitting some of the things, like by using some conditions, we can also find out the r square value. Okay, so your r square can be written in this manner. Okay, 1 minus summation of y minus y cap whole square divided by summation of y minus y bar whole square. Okay, So in the previous, in the example, that equation was written in something different manner. So that's why 1 was not present, and here it is slightly written in different manner. So that's why 1 is there. But the values will be same. Means whatever calculation R square value we are getting here, that will be exactly same with the previous case. Okay. So this is the basis or mathematical basis based upon which we are going to do the programming of your linear regression. Okay. So what happens whenever we are going for different types of regression analysis, we can simply do all this programming in your Python, but there is one package is there, which is your scikit-learn package. Okay, so this is a very powerful package, or you can say very powerful library in which all other libraries have been embedded, like your NumPy, SciPy, your Matplotlib. All those libraries are embedded here. Okay, and this library can be used for classification problems, regression problems, as well as your clustering problems. Okay, so basically clustering, for clustering purpose, we will be using our logistic regressions or different other algorithms are there. Okay, so for all these types of analysis or prediction purpose, it's better to use this scikit-learn library. Okay, so today I'll be showing you the basic programming of your linear regression, in which I'm not going to use this scikit-learn, but you should understand that, you should keep this thing in your mind, that in the next class I'll be showing you how to use this scikit-learn library for different purpose. Is whenever the size of the data set increases, it will be very much convenient to use this scikit-learn library. Okay, so instead of directly doing the programming in your Python, so it's better to use this thing, because this is a library which is exclusively built for your machine learning purpose. Okay. So this is the simple program I have written for this linear regression problem or linear regression algorithm. Okay, so what happens? Let me show you what are the things. It's how this program has been written. After that, I'll show you in Spider also. So first we have imported these libraries: Pandas, NumPy, and Matplot library. Okay. So after that, I have taken some training samples. Means whatever example we have discussed there, same example we are going to implement here. Okay. So I have taken some arbitrary training samples. Okay. So I'll be showing you. I will be doing all these things using two samples. So this is the training sample which we have discussed in our example. Okay. And this is one another example. Okay, another training sample example. After that, we have calculated, or we have just used this formula to calculate your A and B. Okay, so whatever things are written here, that has been written here. Okay, so to calculate your A and B, which will give us least error. Okay, and what are the things written here? So denominator is equals to x dot x. Okay, so you can see x dot x. So this is one means this is one function that is there in your Python, which is used to find out your dot product. Okay, dot product of a vector. So what happens? You can see here in this expression some square values are there. Okay, so xi square, those square values are there. So whenever we are going for these square values, or you can see also these things are there, like your yi into xi summation is there. So whenever summation means product and summations are there, it's better to use your dot product. Okay, so because what happens in your dot product? Dot product, suppose one vector is there, a vector ax I cap plus ay and j cap plus az k cap is there, and another vector is there b which is your bx I cap plus by j cap plus bz k cap is there. Suppose I'm trying to find out your a vector dot product with your b vector, then what will be the value? Ax into bx plus ay into by plus az into bz. Okay, so here what happens? We are finding out the product of these corresponding elements. After that, means here you can see this is the product of this element, this is the product of this element, this is the product of this element. After finding out the product, we are taking the sum of those things. Okay, so directly we are completing this step. Okay, but if we are not using this dot product or this function, then what happens? You have to take the product of all these things in one step. Means I'm telling about this coding. Okay, if you are using this one, then directly that step is completed. If you are not doing that thing, then you have to take the multiplication or do the multiplication by using some for loop. Okay, you have to use some for loop to multiply all those things, and after multiplying those things you have to again use a for loop to add all those things. Okay, so the length of your code will be higher. Okay, you have to write down so many steps to perform those operations. Okay, so if you're using this dot product, then automatically everything is going to be completed. Okay, so this is the most important thing or most important function which have been used here. So you should understand that whenever we are getting this uh, summation thing, okay, and inside that some product terms are there, it's better to use this dot product. Okay, dot product of vectors. Okay, so no need to you go for these loops. Okay, so uh, instead of using the loop, for loop, or different types of loops for multiplying these arrays and adding those things, you can directly do this or use this dot product. Okay, so a is equals to this one, b is equals to this one. Okay, so that whatever formula written there, that has been written here. Okay, and once a and b has been evaluated, we can find out your this equation. Okay, this is the equation of your y equals to mx plus c. It's y cap is equals to mx plus c. Okay. And once we have calculated that one, we are going to calculate these two quantities. So here this numerator and your denominator. Okay, so that thing has been written here as your d1 and d2. Okay, so y minus yt means this is the original value or training sample value of your y, and this is the you can say this is the yt is your predicted value. Okay, this difference has been taken as your d1, and this difference has been taken as your d2. Okay, and after that what happened? We are going to calculate your r square value. This is your r square error. Okay. That is equals to 1 minus d1 dot product with your same d1. Okay, divided by d2 dot product with your same d2, because you can see here also square and summation are there, so here dot product has been used. Okay, so once these things has been done, then we can go for some plottings. Okay, so here we have just plotted those points, whatever input points has been given there, we have just done some scatter plotting. Okay, in your x label x will be written, y label y will be written, and on the top this title will be given. Okay, so all these things are for your plotting purpose, but the main purpose is to find out your r square, your a and b. Okay, so let us go to the spider and check. So the main thing is that for understand means we should understand this regression technique. Okay, that which took so much time, but the programming of this regression technique is very easy. Okay, so today I'll be just showing you the linear regression technique with these values. Next class we'll be discussing how to use this linear regression technique with some data set. Okay. Okay, so same example has been written here. So I'll be just executing that thing in your console to show you step by step process. Okay. So let us import this library first here. And next, let us take these inputs. X is equals to this one and y is equals to this one. Okay, these are the two input values, two input vectors or arrays. You can also check the values. X is equals to, it will give you the values. Y is equals to, it will give you the values. Okay. Next, we'll be trying to find out this a and b, means your slope and your y-intercept. Okay. Whenever you are executing something in your Python, please take care of this indentation. Everything should be perfectly indented. Okay, so now you can find out what is the value of a. Okay, a is equals to 2. Okay, means the slope of this line is equals to 2. Okay, and what is the value of your y-intercept? B is equals to 1. Okay, so these are the values which we have obtained for these input values for these training samples. Okay, you can see in this code it is written that these are the training samples. For these training samples, these are your A and B. Okay, next let us calculate your error. So let us find out what is the R square we are getting. Here you can see R square is equals to 1. That means whatever training samples we have given, we are given with, that exactly fits with our regression line. Okay, so I'll show you how it fits. So let us plot those things. So this is the case. You can see. Okay. So here you can see this is the regression line, and these are my input values. Okay, so whatever input values or training samples were given to us, 1 3, that is here. Okay. Second point was your 2 5, that is also lying on our regression line. Third point, 3 7, 3 comma 7, that is also lying on our regression line. Okay, so here what happens, whatever training samples have been given, all those training samples are perfectly lying on this regression line. So once your R square value we are getting as your 1, or that is close to our 1, at that time you don't have to further improve, or you don't have to go for your gradient search or point search algorithms to find a best fitted line, because whatever line we have obtained by using your mean point as our starting point, that becomes our final line. Okay, and we can use that point or that line as our regression line for prediction purpose. Okay, so here you can say 6 has been, means up to 6 value has been given. We can predict the y values for any x values. Okay, so x can be 10. If it is 10, then we can find out the value. X is equal to 15, we can find out the value. So whatever x values have been given to us, or if you are replacing this x with your time value, we can also find out the corresponding predicted values. Okay, so this is the process of your prediction using your linear regression. So let us check for that other example which we have discussed at the beginning. Okay, so this is the example which we discussed at the beginning. X is equals to 1 2 3 4 5, corresponding y are 3 4 2 4 5. Okay, so this is the case we have discussed at the beginning. Okay. Next, let us find out your A and B value. We'll be comparing whether our coding gives us correct result or not. Okay. So let us find out M value. M is equals to 0.4. Let me remind you, we have also evaluated that thing here. Uh, yes, I think yes, M is equals to 4 by 10, that is equals to 0.4. Similarly, we have also evaluated a C value which was equals to 2.4. Okay, so you can find out that thing also. B 4. Okay, so whatever thing we have calculated using the formula, same thing we are getting in your coding also. Now let us find out your R square. R square, you can see R square we are getting as 0.307692, like that. Okay. So that thing we have already calculated here. I have also told you that thing. R square value, yeah, 0.307692, etc. Okay. So that thing we are getting here. Okay. So whatever things we have discussed there, same concept has been written here or coded here by using some different mathematical expressions. Okay, slightly different manner. You can see. Now, if I'm plotting those things, then you can see here what happens. Whatever points are, you can say, training samples are given there, they are not lying or they are not close to our regression line, because you can see your r square value what we have evaluated here, that is your 0.307. So as it is very far away from your 1, this value is far away from your 1, you can say these, they are not lying on your regression line or they are not close to your regression line. So in this case we have to use your gradient search method or some point search method to find out a good regression line or best fitted regression line. So this is all about your linear regression technique. Okay. So next class I'll be discussing how to use this technique for different types of data set. Okay. So it's a big size data set, how to use, how to find out predict some trends,